the community is invaluable to me. I think the community is something I can absolutely rely on, and we know when something bad happens and somebody needs help, there's going to be help there right away, and I think that makes you feel a little bit less isolated, and I feel about the island community somewhat the same way I feel about my family. I mean, if somebody was going to attack, evict, my family, you can be sure, and you would too, you'd be out there. I'm sure you would. Saying, no, you can't, drag my little brother out of his bed and kick him out of the house. You wouldn't let them do it. So I think it was pretty instinctive, and but there are certain things about you living on an island. It's I think there are other neighborhoods in Toronto which probably feel similar to the way we feel. But if you're completely surrounded by water and you have this common history, and there's been, crises that you've had to deal with, it brings you together. And I think that certainly happened here. But, if you need anything, I'm not talking about, $100 worth of groceries or anything, but if you need anything, if you need 2 eggs or, a cup of milk or whatever, you can get it in a flash, or almost anything, like a strange tool, or your grandchild is coming, you need to borrow a stroller, whatever it may be. All you do is go on the e-group and say, it's called My Neighbors, and say, does anybody have a stroller that I can borrow on Saturday, because my grandchild's coming for a visit, and you'll have more strollers than you know what to do with. There's a guy that runs it, Roger Abbott. He does a fabulous job. So you go there, and you can connect with a lot of the people, not all, as you know, not everybody has a computer, and even some people who have a computer don't use it that way. And they do say if there's something important, a general meeting or something like that, say, be sure to let any neighbors that don't have computers, be sure to let them know about this event that's coming up that we need them to come to. So they managed to keep everybody informed. I've been here so long that of course it's changed, I think the attempt to evict us created a radical change in the community, in the sense that Toronto at that time, was it 72, 75, something like that. It was pretty square. We hadn't stopped Spadina or saved the old city hall or done some of those, citizen action things, really. And we didn't have much experience, and certainly no experience of it being successful. One of the things that happened was the city of Toronto city clerk, Barbara Kaplan, called my former husband and I, because we were among in the Toronto Island Residents Association executive, so we were sort of among the group of people that was having to deal with the problem as leaders, And she said to my former husband and I, you need a community organizer. That's what you need. And we said, what's a community organizer? We'd never even heard of that. And she gave us a few names, so we invited these, they were all men. We invited them over just to discuss it with them. And at the end of the day, we did hire one of them, Dale Perkins, to help us organize ourselves. And it was like day and night. Had that not happened, had we not learned how to organize ourselves in an effective way, which is what we learned from him, the community organizer, we would not have succeeded. And you had to understand that what you're involved in was a power struggle. And you had to analyze the situation based on that understanding, you know. Who has, you know, what power do the, let's call them the enemy. I mean, it's a bit much, but we'll just call them the enemy. The enemy, we're talking about Metropolitan Toronto. Well, let's just call it Metropolitan Toronto. Okay, so what power does Metropolitan Toronto have? What gives them their power? What power do we have that gives us our power? How do we, in our actions, in our political actions, reduce their power and increase our power? You know, so there's a lot of analysis that has to go on. And, you know, it's a lot like, you know, I was saying about learning from the group of actors. You have to sort of practice, and we did different kinds of practices. And we met with other people who had faced situations like we were in, not exactly the same situation, but, you know, that kind of power struggle. 3 women from Pickering, for example, who had resisted the building of the Pickering Airport. They owned farmlands where the Pickering Airport was going to be built. They were farmers, and they obviously didn't want to lose their farms, and they fought and won. You know, they got rid of the whole idea of the Pickering Airport. So there were some successes and people that had achieved success in these situations that we were able to learn from. It was very critical to learn from them. You know, I don't think we could have done it without that.